Hi everybody, welcome to Thursday Truths. Yes, this is going to be a slightly different talk today than the one I had planned. I was going to talk to you about reflexology, but I'll do that next week because I actually just spotted a post just before I came live on here and I thought, yes, this is what I need to talk about today. So today I'm going to talk about an uncomfortable truth, and it's a truth that some people don't take very well, and this is not meant to be upsetting, it's not meant to be putting blame anywhere. But it's something that is really, really true, and it's something that we need to talk about. So what am I talking about? When it comes to natural Eastern alternative medicines, no amount of healing your body is going to work unless you change your behaviours. Now, what do I mean by that? And in terms of when I say sort of natural healing medicine, I mean the therapies to some extent, but also kind of diets and other things that people take, supplements and things like that, that people take to alleviate their symptoms, and to some extent Western medicine as well. And what do I mean by that? So quite often I see people talking about things like Reiki and reflexology and aromatherapy and all the other stuff that I do and that many other people do and use successfully. And they ask for healing. They come to people like me saying, I need to get better, I want to get better. And that's great. However, so for example, I was working the other week with somebody who had nothing to do with endometriosis. It was a friend of a friend who had come to me because they were in quite a lot of pain, and they'd been in pain for a while. They hadn't stopped doing that activity that was causing them the pain, and they wanted me to fix them. Now, that's fine. I can do cupping, I can do massage, I can do Reiki, I can do healing with that person, and I can alleviate that pain for them. However, if they decide to go back to doing exactly the same activity that they were doing before that caused it, or they go back to doing strenuous activity when I've explicitly said, don't do it for 24 hours or for 48 hours, whatever my aftercare advice is, then there is a real risk that nothing is going to change. So, for example, if you know you have a bad back, and you continue to lift heavy objects, you continue to play hockey, you continue to do whatever it is you're doing that aggravates that bad back without getting to the root cause, then that back will continue to hurt. You will continuously have problems with that back, and no amount of healing will ever help. And you'll get to the point where you may need surgery on that back to correct something that actually could have been done before, could have been corrected before, just by taking heed of the advice to either rest up, to do things differently, or without getting to the root cause. So in the days before I specialised in endometriosis, I used to see a lot of builders, and it's quite difficult if it's your job. So these builders were often coming to me with a bad shoulder. I'm thinking particularly actually of one trades guy who came to me with a bad neck and a bad shoulder. Actually, it was a bad shoulder. He'd had it for years, and he'd kind of done massages that would give him a couple of weeks of relief, but it would always keep coming back. And he decided to try something different, so he came to see me. Now, we got to the root cause. I said to him, this is not going to be fixed in one session. We need to identify the root cause of what's going on, why you keep having this pain, why you keep having these problems with your shoulder. So we identified it as a neck problem. So I sorted out his neck. I told him to take a week off work, which he wasn't happy with, but bless him, he did, and he's never had a problem since. And that was about 4 years ago. He's never had a problem since. He's had other problems. He had a problem with his ankle and his knee recently, but he's never had a problem with his shoulder again. And we're talking a problem that was going on for over 12 years. Now, he had put it off. He'd just been sorting out the symptom. So he'd been going to see people for a massage on his shoulder to alleviate the symptom without ever getting beyond the symptom and looking at the root cause. He had been having a massage, then going back to work the next day, doing his electrician-y things. I don't know what that is, that's not really an electrician thing, but doing his electrician things. He'd been aggravating the symptom again, and he'd been in this perpetual cycle for over 12 years. And it wasn't until he went to see somebody who got to the root cause of it, who said, right, let's look at why this is happening. Let's address the root cause. Take time to let your body adjust naturally to the treatment and then gradually get back to work. He did that, and the results, like I say, for 4 years, he hasn't had a single problem. So this is pertinent when it comes to endometriosis as well. And you've heard me talk before about one of the issues with people's resistance and reticence to try alternative medicine and natural medicine, whatever you want to call it, be that as an alternative or as a complement to Western medicine. And that is because quite often people don't appreciate the need to listen to their bodies and take on natural healing remedies, natural therapies, as one with their body. Now that might sound a bit out there, but exactly the same as the example with the electrician. If you come to me with problems with your endometriosis, then I will work with you to identify what your causes and triggers for that endometriosis are. So that's why I work with longer programs, because you're not just coming to me for a stomach massage to get rid of the bloating. You're not just coming to me for balancing the hormones. You're coming to me to understand why your hormones are out of balance in the first place, why your stomach is bloating. Okay, it might be a food intolerance, or it might be stress, but why is that food intolerance there, and why is the stress there? So we dig right down and get to the root cause of that symptom. So we take the symptom, we identify the trigger and the cause beneath it, and we start to work on all three. The symptoms will rectify themselves. I did very little work on this guy's shoulder. It was all around sorting out his neck. And actually it turned out that what had happened to this guy, he'd been working on a house however many years before, 12 years before, 13 years before, and somebody had put almost like a stud wall, but they hadn't put it in place. And as he'd walked through it, the wall fell behind him and caught the back of his neck. So it was almost like a really severe whiplash injury to his neck that he'd never really sorted out. And over the years, it had just got worse and worse and caused more and more problems. It's the same with endometriosis. So you will have heard me talk about physical and emotional causes for endometriosis and triggers for endometriosis. And over the years, things get worse. So by identifying those causes and seeking to rectify the causes, the triggers and the symptoms often take care of themselves, symptoms more so than triggers. So you'll have heard me talk about stress and anxiety being a symptom of endometriosis, stress and anxiety being trigger for endometriosis, and in some cases stress and anxiety being a cause. Once you understand that, you can start to really get to treat the root cause. But the emphasis is also on the person who's undergoing the treatment to make some behavioural or environmental changes. So, for example, taking the food intolerance is a really, really sort of clear-cut example. When I work with people with gut issues, because not everybody obviously always has gut issues with endometriosis, but if you have gut problems, then I will work with you. We will identify any food intolerances you have. Now, food intolerances are transient, and I'll do a video on this at some point. Food intolerances are transient. So you pick up food intolerances all the time. They tend to naturally shift, and your gut is really, really efficient at getting rid of them by themselves. Sometimes they stick, they linger, and there's many reasons for that, but I'll go into it at a later date. But in rectifying a food intolerance, we have the treatment. So we have the abdominal massage that we carry out to reset the gut, to kind of eliminate all the toxins that are causing the problems. Then we need to stay off the thing that we're intolerant to for 2 weeks. So just to take a common one, if it's gluten, somebody identifies that they're gluten intolerant, then what we need to do is do the treatment, but we need to avoid the gluten for a certain amount of time. And then after that time has passed, you can start to reintroduce it gradually. If the next day if you have the treatment and then the next day you go off and have a gluten-packed meal, chances are that food intolerance is going to come back even though you've had the treatment. It might not come back as bad, it might come back exactly the same, but unless you make those behavioural changes to get the result, then the results you see from the work that I do will be really, really short-lived. So my advice to anybody who's considering or who is undergoing a course of natural Eastern medicine is to really listen to your body and to let your body heal, because what Eastern medicine is doing is facilitating your body to heal itself. It's not ramming it full of drugs, it's not synthetically producing the healing things that drugs do, the healing mechanisms. It's not kick-starting anything, it's not synthetically mimicking anything. It's triggering your body's natural healing responses, and that takes time, and you need to be gentle. So listen to the aftercare advice that you're getting. Be gentle with your body, and if something is causing your symptoms or triggering your symptoms, then you need to look at changing that, even if it's just for a short period of time. So for example, stress and anxiety. If there's something in your life that's causing you stress and causing you anxiety, then you need to look at shifting that, either shifting your response to the situation or changing the situation itself. Because without doing that, your results will be short-lived, and chances are you're not going to overcome your endo or any other chronic illness with the treatments that you're trying. Like I say, this is not meant, and quite often people get quite upset because they feel as if when I say things like this, I'm blaming them for their behaviour triggering their endometriosis. That's not what I intended to do. That's not my intention at all. People's understanding and awareness of how Eastern medicine works, how natural medicine works, means that quite often they don't give their bodies the credit and the space it needs to heal itself. Because we're so used to, in this modern fast-paced life, we're so used to, oh, I've got a headache, I'll take a pill, in 10 minutes I'll feel fine and I'll go back to doing what I'm used to. That's our perception of medicine. Now, that's not a blame thing, that's not a fault thing, that's just how we live, that's how our medicine works. With Eastern medicine, it's just that little bit different, and many people don't know that. That's not to say that your behaviour has caused your illness. That's not to say that you are at fault in any way, but there is an element of taking personal responsibility if you want to heal yourself to facilitate that healing process. Eastern medicine isn't for everybody. Some people want to take pills, some people want to have the surgery and just get it over with, and that's absolutely fine. That's a personal choice, and if that's the way you want to go, that's absolutely fine with that. Some people use Eastern medicine, Western medicine, in order to prevent or delay that, or to recover quickly from it. So if you're one of those people, just be mindful that sometimes you may need to make changes to your environment, to your behaviour, or to your mindset in order to facilitate the body, in order to support your body to heal itself. I hope that makes sense. Any questions, you know where I am. I'm going to come on live again shortly well, it will be next week, I think, to talk about reflexology. If there's any specific therapies that you'd like a little bit more information on, if it's something that I do, I can talk about it freely. If it's something that I don't do, I can find somebody to talk about it as well. So please do let me know if there's anything in particular you would like any advice or information on. Take care, guys. Have a lovely rest of the week, fabulous weekends, and I shall see you all soon.